Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Ashley. I'm a vet tech. I am making videos to study for my VTNE, which I'm taking in about like 2.5 weeks now. So I am excited but very nervous. A little bit of background. So I'm doing on-the-job training, but I actually haven't been working for 2 years because I'm living on an island right now. And long story short, we have been like having power outages and internet has been going in and out, so I haven't really been making any videos. Plus, the video that I do want to make is on X-rays, and by the title of this video, you can see that we're talking about radiographs today. X-rays are a lot harder to understand than I thought, but today's the day. Today's the day that we do this. So let's get into it. If you want to learn something or if you just want to review with me, keep on watching. Okay, so like I said, today we're talking about radiographs. So when we're in the clinic or the hospital or wherever we work, we usually say, I'm going to take this X-ray or whatever. We use the word X-ray and radiograph interchangeably, and that's not really correct. So radiograph is the image. So we're taking a radiograph of the patient, but X-rays is the energy that is used to get that image. So this image is created by differential of absorption. So the X-rays that are absorbed into the patient and the X-rays that are passed through the patient or are going around the patient, that is what creates the image. X-rays are electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation comes from so many different things. You've seen the wavelength before, and I'll add it here so you can see it again. But we get electromagnetic radiation from things like light, like visible light, the TV, your microwave, anything, or your radio. You get electromagnetic radiation from all of these things. The difference is the amount of energy that you're actually receiving. So in the wavelength, you see that there are some waves that are more spread apart and some that are put together. The shorter the wavelength, the higher the energy. So X-rays and gamma rays are going to be on one side, and like visible light is going to be towards the middle or towards the end because it doesn't have that much radiation to it. So like I said before, radiographic images are created by the X-ray that pass through the patient or are absorbed by the patient. And the difference of absorption is what creates this image. The difference of absorption, you can see it by the different densities that we have in our body. So let's say an animal ingested a needle, that's going to be bright white. So the metals, things that are very dense are going to be on the light side, and things that are not as dense are going to be on the dark side. So that's basic information about X-rays and how they work. So now that we know that, the properties of an X-ray, the energy, the photons, the things that are creating this image, the properties of X-rays are that they have no charge, they move in a straight line, and they cause ionizations. So they have no charge, and the reason I guess that this is emphasized is because they are created from two different, like a positive and a negative charged situation. So let's kind of get into that. The X-ray tube, it can be glass. There's different forms of this tube, but it's in the X-ray machine. On one side, there's a cathode, which is negatively charged, and this is where the filament is. On the other side, there is an anode, and the anode is positively charged. And the way that I remember this is by, so dogs are happy and cats are not. So the way that I think about it is cat, like the way that cathode is spelled, it has cat at the beginning, and cats are negative, or they're just like, well, dogs are positive and happy. So that's the only way I remember that the cathode is negative and the anode is positive, in case you want to use that. Anyway, so the energy and the photons are created on the cathode portion. So a whole bunch of energy is created, and in that filament, there's 99% of that energy just turns into heat, and 1% of that energy turned into X-rays. All of this energy is shot to the target, which is a rotating target. And this, like I said, is the anode positive section. So the rotating target is made out of tungsten because it has a high melting point. Like I said, almost all of that energy is turning into heat, and only some of it is turning into X-rays. So this side is also a little bit angled, and that is how when all the energy is shot to the anode portion, it is in an angle so it can be shot down to the patient, right? So I'll show you a picture of it so you can see. The target section is where the X-rays are created. So remember that. The energy is created on the cathode portion, and the X-rays are created on the anode portion. That's not that that's going to be a question on the VTNE, but that's possibly going to be a question on the VTNE. Thing that you should know. So the heel effect just means that on the cathode side of, like, wherever the X-ray tube is and wherever the cathode side is, the image will come out darker on the cathode side, and the image will be a little bit lighter on the anode side. So whenever you're placing your patient, if you know that information, that's just kind of something to make you kind of look smart. Place the thicker side of the patient on the anode, or on the cathode portion, and the thinner side of the patient on the anode portion, so you can get the most out of your X-ray. X-rays cause ionization. What this means is just that it makes an atom an ion. So the electrons are orbiting around this atom, and the photon, which is the X-ray is energy photon, kicks an electron out from the orbit and changes it into an ionization. So with that being said, what do ionizations cause in the body, and why are we worried about it? Is because ionizations can cause mutations, and they can also cause apoptosis. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you should know that word. So X-rays are carcinogenic, and it can cause cell death within your body. So the different cancers that are common with X-rays when you're not protecting yourself correctly, or when you're being exposed to way too much radiation, are leukemia, skin cancer, cataracts, birth defects, which is not a cancer, but it's also something that is caused by mutations, and thyroid carcinoma. I'm going to go into units that we have to know. So these units are very important to understanding how an X-ray machine works. Not only do we have to know, like, the makeup of the glass tube, we also have to know how to fix an image if it's overexposed or underexposed, you know? So MAS. So M is milliamperes per second, MAS. The MAS has to do with the exposure of the image. So if the image is overexposed, too dark, then you have to turn down that MAS. And then KVP is kilovolts peak. So, but that's a weird way to say it, so it's peak kilovolts. And the KVP controls the contrast of the image. Next is SV, or sievert. Not really sure if I'm saying that right, but that is just the absorption unit. REM used to be the absorbed unit dose, but they changed it to SV, so I think it's 100 REMs are 1 SV. If you have an underexposed image, what are you going to do? You're going to turn down, or you're going to turn up. No, just kidding. So you'll turn up the KVP or the MAS. Usually you want the MAS to be as low as possible, because MAS is the seconds. And if you're turning up the amount of time that it takes to take an image, then you're going to have to deal with the motion issue, right? So when we have a patient and they're moving around, they're doing all this, getting on our nerves, you don't want the MAS to go up, because that's the amount of time that it's going to take to get that image. So let's try to keep the MAS down as much as possible. KVP, turn up the KVP. So when an image is underexposed, it means that there is not enough KVP or not enough MAS. If an image is overexposed, that means it's going to be very dark, very, very dark. That means that a lot of X-rays are going through, so the KVP or the MAS, the amount of time that it's taking, it's just too much. What we're gonna talk about now is your max permissible dose. So that is how much radiation you can get up to a year. You can get up to 50 MSV, so max serviette, whatever, per year on your whole body. Your eyes can get 150 MSVs, and your skin and extremities can get 500 MSVs. Up to. You don't want to surpass that. This is not a goal. You want to stay under that, like way under that. Okay? So this is for adults. Adults over 18 years old, non-pregnant adults. Pregnant women are allowed to get up to 5 MSVs per pregnancy. So that translates to 0.05 MSVs per month. In all reality, pregnant people should not be taking X-rays. The first trimester, so the first 3 months of pregnancy, the embryo is the most sensitive to radiation, so that's when you definitely should not be taking X-rays. People under the age of 18 should really just not be taking X-rays as well. They shouldn't be participating because they only get 10% of what an adult gets, so they just shouldn't be taking X-rays at all. Okay. Well, a very, very, very important acronym for you to remember is ALARA. Okay. ALARA is as low as reasonably, I always forget the last A, achievable. So this just means that there's a goal. Just try to get as low as possible. That's the goal, is to get as small as possible radiation that you can. So there are 3 things that you can work on, 3 things that you need to remember to lower your chances of getting radiation. Number 1, time. Number 2, distance. Number 3, shielding. So let's start with time. Time. You want to be in the X-ray room as little amount of time as possible. So taking 1 X-ray, making sure you are holding the patient correctly, you have proper form, you're doing the right thing. Okay? Take the X-ray correctly 1 time so you don't have to keep taking it over and over again. Like, first of all, poor dog. Second of all, you're sweating, remember? You're sweating, it's hot, you have a whole bunch of crap on. Try to just take the X-ray once to minimize the amount of time that you're in the X-ray. Second, mechanical or chemical use. So mechanical, making sandbags, tape, things to hold down your patient so you don't have to be in the room while the X-ray is there. That's perfect. Chemical, giving them medication to calm them down, to make them relax so you're not fighting with them, and like I said, having to take 2 or 3 X-rays to make sure that it comes out correctly. Distance. So for distance, you have to remember the inverse square law. So I'm gonna put a picture up here, or here, or here, or here, or here, somewhere, so you can see what the deal is. And then shielding. So shielding, the apron that you wear has to be up. It can be up to 0.55 millimeters. That's like the recommended, but it can be as low as 0.25 millimeters lead shield. Your gloves as well, 0.25 or up to 0.55 millimeters of lead gloves. There are goggles or glasses. I've never used them. I didn't even know those things existed. And then a thyroid shield is very, very, very important because, like I said, X-rays can cause thyroid carcinoma. And that's 0.25 usually millimeters. So these shields do not protect you against direct beam radiation. So if you have, if you're holding a patient's, best example, foot, and you have to hold its toe so you can get that perfect angle and that perfect shot, your finger is just barely in there, so you're like, you know what, let me put a glove on. Listen, it's not protecting you from that beam. The point of the gowns and the shields and all that stuff is to prevent radiation scatter. So whatever comes out directly from the X-ray, you're not being protected by that. What you're being protected by is after it hits the patient and scatters out, that's what you're being protected by. And even then, it's not protecting you from 100% radiation. It goes up to like 80%, but it doesn't protect you all the way, okay? And especially it is not meant to protect you from direct beam. In order to check your gowns and your shields and stuff like that, you can take an X-ray of them to see if there's any cracks or tears or anything, so they can be replaced. Monitoring devices are used to measure how much radiation you're getting. I think they're sent out like every 3 months, if I remember correctly, and those last a lifetime. So the badge that you wear at work, don't take it out, don't take it to your house. You get radiation, like I said, from light, from your microwave, from your TV, going to a dentist appointment, you have that thing on. Don't take it out of your work environment, because that's supposed to measure occupational radiation. Now, with that being said, you can get the information of how much radiation you're getting from your job. That should be available to you at all times whenever you need it. And also, it's charted for your whole entire life, or for your occupational life. The different monitoring devices that are available are film badges, a thermoluminescent dosimeter, TLD is the little acronym for it, a pocket dosimeter. They have rings, they have wristbands, and you should also wear this for fluoroscopy. Fluoroscopy is just an X-ray that is taken, it's kind of like live motion, so it's not just an image, it's like on a monitor and you can like watch it, but it's also using radiation, so you should wear your badges and your gowns and all that stuff during your fluoroscopy procedures. Some extra things that we should know: the PACS system. It's like the developing digital image system. This includes a server, a workstation, and a monitor. The most important portion of this for the image quality is the monitor. So making sure you have a good monitor so you can see those images properly. Also, DICOM. That's something else that is used now in digital radiographs. DICOM stands for Digital Imaging and Communication in Medicine. The reason this is used is because it keeps the medical record integrity. So what that means is that it has the patient information, it has the information of the study that was done. It's only able to be opened in certain programs, so it's very, very difficult to alter these images. So if you're like in court or something like that, you know that if you're using DICOM, it's holding that integrity. We talked about the PACS system, the X-ray tube. We use grids that go on top of a cassette. And so if the dog is like over a certain amount of thickness, I think it's over like 10 centimeters, then you put the grid on there, and this prevents scatter, and it also helps the image quality. And then you have your cassette. So the cassette usually is layered. So on the top is the cassette front, then there's padding, then there's the intensifying screen, in the middle there's a film, then there's another intensifying screen, padding, and then cassette back. So it's all of those things, but it's in one little cassette. And the intensifying screens are used to reduce the amount of exposure you need, so it reduces the amount of MAS that you need. All right, guys, so that was it. I know there's a lot more that goes into X-rays or radiographs. I know that they ask about film, which is odd because I've never seen a place that still does like processes films or X-rays like by hand, but that is some information that you need to know. It's not that much, so you can just look that up on your own. I know it's like Fixer and the developer and stuff like that, but most of the questions that I've gotten from my vet tech prep had to do with the X-ray machine and how it worked. So hopefully this helps you out. If you have any questions, don't ask me, because that's it, that's all I know. If you have any comments, or if you need to correct me on something, leave a comment down below. I am gonna have questions up for you guys right now. Thanks for watching. I will see y'all next time. Peace.